are
They're
you know,
leaning in.
or what?
They're leaning into woke. Hardcore.
They're petrified
Yeah.
of some kind of backlash. I mean, you see with Disney now. I mean, Disney, one of the most gay-friendly.
The lead actress trashed the original, the dwarves got replaced with CGI freaks, and Disney's most iconic fairy tale just turned into a full-blown PR disaster. This isn't a remake, it's a freak show that left the internet furious and Disney scrambling. Snow White 2025 was supposed to be a reimagining of a beloved classic, a modern take on a timeless story. Instead, it became a cautionary tale of what happens when a studio ignores its own legacy.
And Disney decided to hire the most insufferable girl boss narcissist that exists on Earth, who hates Snow White,
Lets its lead star alienate the audience, and tries to out-virtue signal the internet. From the moment Rachel Zegler was cast, the energy around this film was weird. First there was hype, then came the interviews, where she practically mocked the original. And it only got messier from there. The CGI dwarves, instant meme fuel. Gal Gadot's evil queen, barely in the final cut. The plot, rewritten into a preachy mess. And by the time the movie actually hit theaters, even longtime Disney fans were like, what is this? This isn't just another reboot gone wrong. It's an entire blueprint for how to kill a classic.
Movie companies are going to look at her and they're going to say box office poison. And a lot of this is due to her behavior leading up to the film's release.
So, how did Snow White go from a cornerstone of Disney's legacy to one of its most ridiculed remakes ever? Let's break down every single misstep, starting with the woman who lit the match, Rachel Zegler. The casting at first? Kinda historic. She just came off West Side Story and was being hyped as the next big thing. Latina Snow White, big win for representation, right? But girl didn't even let the paint dry on that announcement before things started going left. The moment she opened her mouth in interviews, oh, it was a wrap. Rachel straight up said the OG 1937 Snow White was creepy, outdated, and made it clear her version didn't need a man to save her. Now look, okay, we love a confident queen, but dang, why are you dragging the movie that got you the gig?
There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Weird.
She clowned the love story, mocked the prince, even said Snow White was gonna be a leader instead. Cool and all, but maybe don't slander the original when that's the entire reason people even care about this remake in the first place. The backlash was immediate. Fans weren't just annoyed, they were legit insulted. Twitter turned her quotes into memes. YouTube commentaries roasted her on sight. People started calling her box office poison before the movie even dropped. And guess what? That label aged way too well. Now, if Rachel was the match, the dwarves were the gasoline. Disney went out of their way to announce they wouldn't be using dwarves in the film. Instead, we were getting magical beings. Basically, they were trying to dodge backlash over stereotypes. But it backfired so hard.
So with Snow White, let's go through this, right? There's no prince. Woman doesn't need a prince.
Oh, Lord.
Really? Okay, good luck back then.
It started with Peter Dinklage, Tyrion from Game of Thrones, criticizing the original movie for being backward in how it portrayed dwarfism. Which, okay, fair discussion. But then real actors with dwarfism clapped back like, hold up, those were our jobs. What do you mean cut us out? And then came the leaked images. Those fake, plasticky CGI creatures, they didn't look magical. They looked like unfinished concept art from a forgotten DreamWorks spin-off. Twitter had a field day. People were saying they looked like background extras from Shrek. Disney tried to play damage control. First, they denied the leaks were real. Then, after the memes took over the internet, they were like, yeah, okay, they're in the final cut. So instead of hiring real actors, we got video game characters. Literal NPC energy. And it wasn't just a visual L, it told fans loud and clear.
He doesn't need a prince to save her, and not surrounded by 7 weird people. Oh, okay, just CGI fictional goblins, I guess.
Disney was more afraid of online think pieces than honoring the charm of the original. All to avoid controversy, they created a way worse one. Oh, and wait, because the visuals get even worse. Listen, Disney has a literal billion-dollar reputation for visuals. They invented magic on screen. But when people saw Snow White 2025, the main word was cheap. I'm not kidding. Fans said it looked like a Netflix fantasy series with no budget. Everything from the forest to the dwarves to even the castle just felt off. And it wasn't stylistic. It was lazy, like someone ran out of rendering time and just said, good enough. People online were saying it had AI-generated vibes, and honestly, they weren't wrong. Scenes lacked depth. There was no warmth. Even the lighting looked flat. It was all CGI overkill with none of the Disney heart we grew up on. And here's the kicker. The original 1937 Snow White was hand-drawn, frame by frame, full of texture, emotion, artistry. This one? It looked like it was trying to copy that feeling with tech.
To go out and badmouth everybody and talk smack about, older movies in the same franchise, the canon story, I guess?
Yeah.
I don't know, dude. I feel like they would have had better control over that.
And failed miserably. The live-action label was a joke. Ain't nothing felt real, especially not the emotion. It was all spectacle, no soul. And guess what? The story didn't help either. So, you know how the OG Snow White was about love, kindness, innocence? Yeah, they threw all that out the window. This remake turned into a girl boss origin story, but like the try-hard kind. There's no prince, there's no romance, there's not even singing forest animals anymore. It's Snow White going, I don't need anyone, while acting like she's above everyone else. And listen, independent heroines are great, but this version, she was just mean. Rachel's performance came off cold, cocky, not relatable. Viewers literally said, the evil queen felt more likable. And you know that's a problem when the villain is getting more sympathy than the lead. The charm was gone. The softness, the vulnerability, that wide-eyed wonder that made the OG Snow White special.
This girl took the money and then decided that she wanted to go out there and, you know what, I'm gonna take my stand. Well, you should have made that stand before you took the money to promote a film, because that's not in line with your job description.
Yeah, nowhere to be found. She wasn't even sweet. She was snarky and smug and lecturing everyone around her. Critics were like, this ain't Snow White. This is a completely different character wearing her name. And that misstep didn't just ruin the vibes, it made fans angry. But y'all, it gets messier. Because the woman meant to balance all this, Gal Gadot, she got sidelined too. Now, Gal Gadot was supposed to be the star villain, the evil queen, the drama, the glam. People were hyped for her. She's Wonder Woman after all. But when the movie came out, her scenes were short, rushed, weirdly edited, no real presence. It was like they chopped her storyline up and just sprinkled her around when they remembered she existed. Even weirder, she was barely in the press tour.
Right. I think this is their policies coming back to bite them. They went woke.
Yeah.
She went out and said stuff woke that was going to hurt the film. They couldn't come out and go against her because then you're going after somebody for saying what you say you believe.
Barely any marketing push. Barely any chemistry with Zegler in interviews. And people noticed. Rumors started swirling. Was there beef behind the scenes? Did they not vibe? Was Gal just over it? Some fans swear you could feel the tension in their promo clips, like body language, energy, totally off. And if that's true, it would explain why Disney basically erased Gal from the final marketing run. Her performance had potential, but it got buried under the film's chaos. Another wasted opportunity in a film full of them. And now, with opening weekend crashing hard, the rest of the disaster unfolded fast. All right, so after all that drama, you'd think Disney would have pulled something off to save face, right? Maybe a last-minute marketing push? A surprise cameo? Anything? Nope. The movie dropped and it crashed.
But at the same time, I think going forward, they're going to be like, hey, shut up.
Yeah.
Tight-lipped. Otherwise, guess what? We're clawing back some money.
Yeah. This would have done a lot better if they, had a strong male along with her.
Opening weekend numbers were embarrassing for a film with a name like Snow White. Social media was flooded with people posting pics of completely empty theaters. We're talking private screening, but not on purpose levels of bad. And then came the real cherry on top. It got banned in a whole country. Yeah, an entire nation said, nah, keep that. Whether it was over political, cultural, or moral reasons doesn't even matter. The headlines wrote themselves, Disney's Snow White 2025 blocked overseas. Massive L. It wasn't just a flop, it was a public rejection. International audiences didn't connect, parents didn't trust it, kids weren't interested, and older fans, they were straight up insulted. It was a rare moment of unity and disappointment. And through all of this, Rachel Zegler tried to fix things. And man, it made it so much worse. So, Rachel must have seen the backlash building, because suddenly she switched gears. The same girl who shaded the original Snow White, now she's out here praising it, talking about how honored she was, trying to gas up the movie. Too little, too late. Every interview felt like she was reading from a PR-approved script.
I think they could have done all that woke shit. You want to cut woke? They could have done all that still. And as long as she had gone out and been like, Well, we just have a different story. I like the old story, but we're doing a different one this time.
You're probably right.
I mean, the backlash would have been 10 times.
Yes.
You're probably right.
The internet wasn't buying it. Fans were commenting, "Why are you pretending now?" Or, "Sis, you already said what you said." The vibe? Damage control mode activated. But here's the kicker. According to Variety, Disney literally hired a social media handler to manage her online presence during the rollout. Not even joking. A whole person was brought in to help her not dig the hole deeper. That's how chaotic things got. And then rumors started swirling. Death threats, increased security, full-on PR panic behind the scenes. This wasn't just a bad press cycle. This was a full crisis. And while Rachel was fumbling apologies, someone else inside the industry started speaking up. Enter Jonah Platt. His dad was involved in producing the remake, so this dude had a front row seat to the chaos, and he did not hold back. He basically called out Rachel Zegler for biting the hand that fed her and said she completely disrespected the franchise, and honestly, that opinion was everywhere in Hollywood. Quiet whispers turned into louder conversations. She's difficult, she's toxic PR, she's bad for box office.
Our primary purpose is to entertain, and where we can entertain responsibly, obviously we try to do that. We try to have a positive impact on the world, but the first thing we need to do is entertain.
People started calling her box office poison, and this time it wasn't trolls. It was directors, casting people, executives. The whole industry started side-eyeing her like, do we really want this energy on set? Meanwhile, her fake enthusiasm during the promo tour made it worse. That flip-flop didn't win over critics. It just made her look disingenuous. And fans? They doubled down. You could feel the shift. From maybe she just messed up to, nah, we're done with her. And through it all, Disney stayed weirdly quiet, which made people wonder, were they even on the same team anymore? Now, here's where things zoom out. Because this wasn't just about Snow White. This whole meltdown was like a mirror held up to Disney's face. And what it showed was kinda ugly. Disney's been going through a phase lately. Reboots, remakes, heavy messaging, trying to appeal to everyone at once. But Snow White exposed the cost of that game.
Jonah Platt, whose father helped produce the latest Snow White film, had some very harsh words for star Rachel Zegler.
They didn't tell a good story. They tried to win internet points. The script felt like it was written by committee. There was no soul, no spark. It was just corporate buzzwords wrapped in CGI frosting. And audiences are smart. They saw right through it. Even people who agree with the progressive updates were like, this ain't it. They weren't mad it was diverse. They were mad it was bad. There's a difference between fresh storytelling and forced storytelling. And Snow White felt like it was checking boxes instead of winning hearts. You could feel the fatigue setting in. People are tired of remakes that lecture instead of inspire.
For context, Variety wrote a report recently titled Inside Disney's Snow White Fiasco, Death Threats, Beefed Up Security, and a Social Media Guru for Rachel Zegler.
And if Disney doesn't realize that now, they're in serious trouble. So what now? Does Disney learn from this? Or do they keep doubling down and hope the next remake lands better? So far, they haven't announced any major changes. But insiders say Snow White shook them. Streaming numbers weren't impressive either. The film didn't even get a second life online. It dropped, flopped, and got buried by the algorithm. And fans? They've been vocal about what they want. More heart, less agenda, more story, less spin, more characters who feel human. Not like mouthpieces for corporate ideals. And maybe the biggest lesson? Not every fairy tale needs a modern twist. Sometimes magic works because it's simple. It's okay to have wonder. It's okay to have innocence. Every remake doesn't have to be a gritty TED Talk. People are watching now. If Disney tries to mess with another classic the way they did Snow White, best believe the internet's already prepped for war, but there's still hope. The backlash might just be loud enough to force a course correction. Maybe this flop becomes the wake-up call Disney needed to go back to stories that feel something. Until then, Snow White 2025 will live on as one of Disney's biggest "how did we mess this up" moments in history. A full-blown case study in what happens when you ignore your audience, chase trends, and forget the fairy tale part of the fairy tale.